Joining me now is Kevin O'Leary. He is the chairman of O'Leary Investments, Shark Tank fame, friend of the show. Kevin, thanks for being with us here on the Hill. Final week to go. Here we are.
Great to be here. Thank you.
You got it. I want to start here. Paul Tudor Jones, you know who he is, but for our audience here on NewsNation or listening to us on Sirius XM, billionaire hedge fund manager, known within economic circles. He was giving an interview in about the past week or so, and this is what he said about both candidates, Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, and I want to get your reaction on the other side.
Between Trump and Harris, you've probably got the two people least suited for the job that's ahead of them.
Kevin, I like talking to you because you don't care about red, you don't care about green, about blue, you care about green. Is Paul Tudor Jones right there that neither Trump or Harris are suited for the moment?
Well, that's an interesting comment, but it's not very useful because the country has to make a choice. And I really don't shill for politicians. I shill for policy. So I'm trying to make a point here as I get into the narrative on the election. You got to look at the policies because one of these two people is going to make decisions about policy. And I think the president of the United States only has one job. It's to protect the American dream. There's a reason this is the #1 economy on earth and has been for 200 years. It's the American dream. This is where capital wants to come. More than 50% of invested capital on earth comes to the United States of America. We don't want to mess that up. So policy really matters. And so to make a statement saying neither of them are fit for the job, well, one of them is going to get the job, and you better be looking at the policy of each to decide which vote you're going to cast. And I simply say, look, we haven't spent enough time on policy at all in this election, and that's why I'm just one voice saying, hey, you want to talk about housing? Let's look at Harris's policy. Can she really build 3 million homes? No, I don't think so, because that's not the federal mandate. It's state by state that decides the land, unless she's willing to give up federal land. If she can do that, that may help, but it's still a state mandate. Number two, 28% tax rate? No. That's not the American dream. That would be the highest tax hike in history of corporate rates in one swoop of the pen. That's a bad idea. And look, I'm not against her or for her. I'll have to work for her if she's the president, no question. But that is a bad idea. And I think we should talk about that, and we haven't been doing very much of that.
So what about border, this policy?
That's a huge issue.
Yeah, what about, let's stick on the economy for a second. What about this from Donald Trump? Because he floated the idea of no income taxes and replacing that with tariffs the other day. Here he was on Joe Rogan.
Did you just float out the idea of getting rid of income taxes and replacing it with tariffs?
Well, okay.
Were you serious about that?
Yeah, sure, but why not?
J.D. Vance seemed to do a little bit of cleanup, Kevin, for him, calling that quote-unquote aspirational. What's Trump doing here?
No. I mean, there's an idea in other countries where you get rid of corporate taxes and you increase personal taxes because corporations are fungible. They can move anywhere. And when we raised our taxes in America to 28%, they went to Ireland. So that'll happen again if we do this. It takes a couple of years to happen, but it will. Trump's use of tariffs is for negotiations. That's basically what he's doing. So let's talk about reciprocal. There's an act floating around on the Hill right now about being reciprocal on tariffs. So if Germany charges 10% for car tariffs, we charge 10%. Right. And for most of our trading partners, it's tit for tat. That's what NAFTA was all about. But China's different. We're in an economic war with China. They came into the WTO in 1999, and they have not played fair since then. They cheat, they steal, they don't protect IP law, we can't own real estate. It's a huge problem. We can't litigate in their courts, and they litigate in our courts. So we need to find a way to bring the supreme leader to the table. The only thing he understands is staying in power. Everybody understands that about him, and that's very clear. So the way you stay in power there is to make sure everybody has a job. You want to crush job creation in China? Pick a sector and put 400% tariffs on it. Not forever, just for long enough for those people to get nervous about keeping those jobs. So I'm just using a hypothetical example, but let's say we make 1 million yoga mats a week in China. Okay, throw a 400% tariff on yoga mats. No one's going to bring them in from China. The guys who make the yoga mats in the factories where they're stamped, they'll go out of business unless they solve this problem. You know, Supreme Leader will be on a plane in 48 hours smiling at Trump in Washington or Harris, whoever the president is, if they do that kind of tariff negotiation.
Thank you for watching, and make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.